Hey guys, Miss C here. Sorry for the lateness of this video. Tech issues today, but we are here. So, we are going to talk about finding the factors and zeros of polynomials, which we talked about in 3B.1, but now we're going to add a little extra information to it. So let's do a review from what we did in our last lesson. So the first thing I mentioned in class is you need to change this to x equals 4. That was my mistake, so sorry, typo. And we're going to find the zeros. So remember, we use synthetic division, and I'm going to line up all of my coefficients right here. 1, -7, 2, and 40. And I am just going to complete my synthetic division. And so -3 times 4 is -12, -10 times 4 is -40. You should always end up with 0 as your remainder when it tells you something is a 0. So these now give me my new coefficients for my next factor. So I have x squared minus 3x minus 10. So from here, I need to decide how I'm going to find my other zeros. Well, how about we try factoring? And so I'm going to put an x in each spot. Let's try 5 and 2, subtract, add, check your work, you get -5x, +2x, you get -3x, which is what we wanted. So these work for us here. And so now that I found my factors, I need to find my zeros. So how I'm going to do that is set each factor equal to 0. So I have x minus 5 equals 0, and x plus 2 equal to 0. So I have a factor of 5 and a factor of -2. So my three factors are x equals 5, x equals -2, and x equals 4. I have 3 factors because my degree is 3. Okay, that's going to be important in the notes that we do down here. So now the question is, what if you're not given a factor or a 0? What if it didn't say this first part and it just gave you a function like this, and it said, tell me what the factors or zeros are? Well, that's what we're going to focus on today, and something you're going to need for the notes today is your calculator. I recommend the TI-36X Pro or a graphing calculator, okay? You could, also use the 30XS. That one works as well. I think instead of calc, it says okay, but those are your options for this. Part of the class is using the calculator. And so we are going to learn how to use the calculator to find a 0 or 2, and then we're going to use synthetic division to find the others. Now, what you're going to notice about the problems today, and maybe if you remember from our last lesson, is that all of our zeros were whole numbers. Or maybe we had a fraction here or there. But I say that because what we're going to find today is we're going to have irrational roots, meaning we're going to have some square roots. And when we have square roots, we always have plus or minus square roots as part of our zeros. And we could also, we're going to have to use some different strategies for that. So we've already practiced factoring. We're good at that. So we're going to maybe do some more factoring, but definitely going to do some square roots, completing the square and quadratic formula. So the purpose of these notes, guys, is to really make sure you feel comfortable with the calculator. And so I'm going to take my time working through the calculator for these. So for number 1, we are going to start with the calculator. So I am just going to plug this equation into the calculator, and I'm using the 36X Pro, and so you can follow along with the notes up here if you are using your 36X Pro. And so I'm going to go to my calculator. There we go. Okay. And so here's my calculator. Turn it on. Get to the home screen. I'm going to hit table, edit function, and now if you have something in there, go ahead and clear it. And I'm going to submit or enter in my function here. And I'm going to walk through some steps of how to do that. And so I'm just typing in my equation. So I have x. If I'm trying to use an exponent, I'm going to use the x with the square on it. And then I'm going to put a 4. Now the next really important thing is that you make sure your cursor is currently in the exponent. So if I wanted to keep typing, you are still in the exponent. So if I want to get out of the exponent, I need to either hit the down button, or you actually need to hit the side button in order to get out of that and get down to ground level, as I like to call it. And so then we have plus 3x, which is next to the 4, to the third, again, back down to ground level, minus 5x squared, minus 15x. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. This table setup does not matter. The only thing that you want to make sure is that your step is at 1. What this start means here is that that's the x value that your table is going to start at, but it does not matter because we're going to scroll up and down through the table. And so I'm going to hit enter, enter, enter until I get to calc. And then I'm going to hit enter again, and now I see a table. So you can see I'm starting at x equals 2, just like I said in the previous page. And so what I'm looking for is where f of x is equal to 0. So I'm just going to use my up and down arrows to scroll through my table and find where f of x is 0. So if you scroll, you can see, oh, here's one at x equals negative 3, and I'm going to keep scrolling. And here's another one at x equals 0. Okay, so those are 2 zeros from my table. So if I go back to my notes, I have found that x equals 0 and x also equals negative 3, okay? So now I want to use these to complete some synthetic division, okay? So I'm going to use my 0. It does not matter which one you start with, okay? I'm just choosing 0 because it's easy, in my opinion, to start with 0. It really doesn't make a difference. So I'm writing my coefficients at the top. Now you cannot forget, remember, you need a placeholder. So even though we don't have any gaps in the middle here, we're still missing our constant at the end, and so we have plus 0 at the end there, okay? Okay, so I'm bringing down my 1. 1 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. Negative 5 times 0 is 0. Negative 15, 0. If you didn't have this placeholder, you would have thought that negative 15 was your was your remainder. That's not true. So, okay, so now that we have, these are our coefficients, right? But we have 2 zeros. We have this x equals 0, and we also have x equals negative 3. And so these are the coefficients. Our polynomial starts at x to the 4th. So these are the coefficients for x to the 3rd. And so I'm not quite done yet because I want to use my x equals negative 3. So I'm going to do synthetic division again. Okay, and so when I do that, I get 1, negative 3, 0, 0, negative 5, 15, and 0. And so if these were my coefficients for x to the 3rd, these are my coefficients for x squared. So what this now becomes is x squared minus 5. There's no middle term because x is 0 in the middle, okay? And so now I need to find the rest of my zeros. Now we already have 2 of our zeros, and we need 2 more because our degree is 4, and so we're looking for 4 zeros. Okay, so I'm going to set this equal to 0 and solve for x. So I'm adding 5 to both sides. X squared equals 5. Square root both sides, and I get x equals positive or negative square root of 5. Okay? And so our 2 zeros are the square root of 5 and the negative square root of 5. You can leave it just like this if you want, or you can split it up. I like to split it up because I think it helps me see that I have 4 zeros here, okay? Okay, try to put in number 2 in your calculator on your own for a second, following the steps. Pause the video. All right, I will show you guys how to go through number 2 in your calculator and plug this in. So I'm going back to the home screen. I'm going to hit Table, Edit Function, clear what's there, and plug in. So I have x raised to the 4th plus 2x raised to the third minus 5x squared minus 4x plus 6. Make sure I brought everything down to ground level and everything. Hit enter. Does not matter where you start. If yours looks different than mine, that's okay. I'm just going to calc, and I'm now trying to find where f of x is 0. So I'm scrolling up and down all the way, no matter where you are. You're scrolling up and down and finding where f of x is 0. So f of x is 0 at -3 and again at 1. Okay, so those are the two zeros I'm going to be working with. So at x equals 1 and x equals -3. So I'm just going to choose one of them to start with. I'm just going to choose 1 and do my first round of synthetic division. So 1, 2, -5, -4, and 6. Okay, so we're just completing some synthetic division. Okay, your remainder should always be 0. And now I'm going to do synthetic division again. Okay, 1, -3, 0, 0, 6, 0. There we go. So this now, see if you can write it on your own, will be x squared minus 2 equals 0. And I'm trying to find my last two zeros here. Okay? Pause, try it yourself. You should get the answer of x equals positive or negative square root of 2. And so you get the square root of 2 and the negative square root of 2. Okay? Try 3 and 4 on your own. Go ahead and pause the video. Try those here. I will show you how to get through the calculator for number 3. Again, it's just going to take practice. So I'm going to go second mode, table, edit function, clear, and I'm typing in x raised to the 4th plus x raised to the 3rd minus 9x squared minus 3x plus 18. Okay. Down, enter, enter, enter until I get to calc. And here we are. So I'm going to scroll through my table. These numbers get really big, and so I'm going to go down. Okay, here's 1, 0. X is -3. If I scroll down more, maybe there's another one. X equals 2. If I keep scrolling, the numbers just keep getting bigger, so I don't need to go any farther there. So my zeros here are x equals 2 and x equals -3. Okay, so I'm going to use synthetic division. It does not matter which one you start with. Try it on your own. Pause. I'm just going to run through this one, go quickly. And so we have 2, 1, 1, -9, -3, 18. Okay, and then I'm going to go again. Those of you that are enjoying synthetic division, this I assume is fun for you. Remember, you should always end with 0. So now these are our coefficients. And so I have x squared minus 3 equals 0. Pause. What are your zeros here? Okay, and your zeros should be the square root of 3 and the negative square root of 3. Okay? Try number 4 on your own. Pause. Okay, the ones you found in your calculator should be 0 and 2. Pause again to do your synthetic division. Okay, and when you did your synthetic division, you should then end up with x equals the square root of 5 and x equals the negative square root of 5. Okay? If you need a refresher to go back and see how to plug it into your calculator, watch the previous 3 problems to look at those. But let's go ahead and look at the back now. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we're going to look at number 5. So we're doing the same thing where we are going to go into our calculator. Okay, second mode, table, edit function, I'm hitting enter, clear, 4x raised to the third minus 16x squared plus 11x plus 3. Enter, 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 calc, and here we go. Okay, so I off the bat see 1 at 3, 0. If you are somewhere else in your table, scroll up and down. Okay, so 3, 0, or x is equal to 3. Let me scroll the other way. I don't see any more, and that's okay. We just need 1, at least 1. Okay, so let's use our 1 that we have. And so that was x equals 3. Let's use our synthetic division. So we have 3, 4, negative 16, 11, and 3. So this comes down, 12, negative 4, negative 12, negative 1, negative 3, and 0. Perfect. So now I don't have another 0 to work with, and so this is 4x squared minus 4x minus 1. So your first line of defense would be factoring or then square root method, but we can't use either of those because you're not going to find factors that work. If you're watching this from the notes in class today, I think I originally said it was 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. I must have been having a brain fart because that is not correct, because although that gives me negative 1, it does not give me a middle of negative 4x. So that is not the correct factoring, and this cannot actually factor. So if you can't factor and a is greater than 1 like this, I would recommend just using the quadratic formula. And if we remember, I know our best friend, quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so I need to look at my equation and identify a, b, and c. So I have a is 4, b is negative 4, c is negative 1. Plug that into your equation here, into your quadratic formula, and you are going to, I'm going to rewrite some notes up here. Okay, so you're going to end up with 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared minus 4 times negative 1 all over 2 times 4. So this simplifies to 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 16 over 8, which is 4 plus or minus the square root of 32 over 8. I know this is probably not the most fun for some of you who don't remember all of this. This is good review. Over 8, which can simplify to x equals 1 plus or minus the square root of 2 over 2. A 4 can come out of everything. So here are 2 of your roots because of this plus or minus in the middle. And then our third root at the top here at x equals 3. Those are your 3 roots because our degree is 3 here, okay? Try number 6 on your own. Use your calculator. Okay, in your calculator you should have gotten x equals 4. So when we do synthetic division here, we get 3, negative 22, 32, 32. Okay, and so we end up with 3x squared minus 10x minus 8. So again, first line of defense is to factor, so you can try factoring 3x and x. So pause, try to factor yourself, Okay, so now that you tried it on your own, you would see that your factors are going to be 4 and 2. You can check it here by 2x and negative 12x. You get negative 10x, which is what we wanted here. So we are good to go. And so now I want to set each factor equal to 0. So I have 3x plus 2 equals 0, and then x minus 4 equals 0. And so this, we get x equals negative 2/3 and x equals 4. Well, wait, we already got x equals 4 over here. Think about what that means when you have two zeros that are the same. This would mean that the fully expanded form of this would be 3x plus 2, x minus 4, x minus 4, which is the same thing as 3x plus 2 times x minus 4 squared. What did we learn about something being squared graphically? We learned that that means there's a bounce there. And so it makes sense that there's only two zeros because that means that there's a bounce at x equals 4, okay? So these are our two zeros here, but 4 bounces at that value, okay? Cool. Okay, try number 7 on your own. Or use your calculator, sorry, for this one, to find your 0 that you have. And so you should get x equals negative 3. So when you plug that in to your synthetic division, you will end up with 1, negative 11, and 3. 1. Remember, should always have 0 at the end. Go back and check your work if you can't. So this is x squared minus 4x plus 1. Now this is an example where we cannot factor. And so you have two options here. You could either use the quadratic formula or you could complete the square. Either one is completely acceptable and totally fine. We haven't done one where we complete the square, so I want to do an example of that for those that would like to learn that. So I'm going to set this equal to 0. And the first thing I'm going to do is move this 1 to the other side. So we have x squared minus 4x equals negative 1. Now I'm leaving this space here because I need to add something to both sides. Remember, I need to add b over 2 squared to both sides. Half it, square it, add it. So I'm going to take negative 4, divide it by 2, negative 2, and I'm going to get negative 2 squared. And I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Okay? So this gets rewritten as x minus 2 times x minus 2 equals 3, which is the same thing as x minus 2 squared equals 3. I'm going to square root both sides, and I end up with x minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 3. X equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 3. So we had one root here at negative 3 and another 2 roots here at 2 plus the square root of 3 and 2 minus the square root of 3. Try number 8 using complete the square. Pause the video. Okay, if you needed to oh gosh, I thought that okay, great. If you need to see your calculator answer, you would get x equals 1. So now you're going to do your synthetic division. Okay, how'd you do? So you get x squared minus 2x, plus 2x minus 4. Again, try factoring. It doesn't quite work in this problem. So I'm going to use complete the square. So pause, try to complete the square. Okay, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. I get x squared plus 2x equals 4. I am going to add 1 to both sides. Okay. Oh, sorry guys, 1 second. Okay. And so when I add 1 to both sides, this is now going to become, I have x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 5. This factors to x plus 1 equals 5. X plus 1 squared equals 5. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. X plus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 5. X equals -1 plus or minus the square root of 5. Here are 2 of your roots, and your third root is up here. Okay? For 9 and 10, try these on your own. Pause for a second. Okay, your calculator one, I'll go through calculator one last time for number 9. Just a reminder of how to go through it. Okay, so calculator is on, home screen, edit function, clear what you have there. I'm typing in 2x raised to the third minus 3x squared minus 12x plus 20. Enter, 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 calc. Here we go. So I'm looking, I only see f of x is 0 right here at x equals 2. So that's what I'm going to use here. X equals 2. Okay. And then this one, use our synthetic division. 2, -3, -12, 20. 2, 4, 1, 2, -10, -20. So I am going to get 2x squared plus x minus 10. You can always try to factor first, so let's try it. Okay, I need 10. Let's try 5 and 2. Okay, this will give me 5x, this will give me 4x. So if I want +1, I need +5x and -4x to give me x here. Okay? And so that will give me the correct signs. And so now that I've factored it correctly, I can set my factors equal to 0. And I get x equals -5/2 and x equals 2. Again, we see we get x equals 2. Oh, wait. X minus. Did I make a mistake? 5x minus 4x. No. I think we have a bounce again at x equals 2. The original key I posted, I think, showed +2 and -2, but it looks like these are it. Okay? We'll go over these in class tomorrow as well in the homework if anyone has any questions. And then the last one, I'm just going to write the zeros here for this one. For this one, you have to complete the square, so your calculator answer is x equals -4. And then once you do your synthetic division and you get your other 2 roots as x equals 1 plus or minus the square root of 2. Okay, guys, I hope this was helpful. Again, I'm so sorry that this was so late, but hope this is helpful before class for anyone that needs to see the notes. And have a great night, guys. See you later.